Battles on the high seas, ominous hints at future foes, and a slightly more sympathetic Sharkman. Here's what the ending of Netflix's One Piece means. Season 1 of One Piece on Netflix adapts the manga and anime's opening East Blue Saga. The story follows Monkey D. Luffy, a good-natured young pirate whose body stretches like rubber due to eating a devil fruit. Seeking out the One Piece, the treasure of legendary pirate Gold D. Roger, Luffy assembles a crew over the course of the season, each member with their own unique abilities and goals.
I'm Monkey D. Luffy, and I will be the king of the pirates. And I think you should join my crew.
The swordsman Zoro and the navigator Nami are the first to join him. Usopp, a teller of tall tales who's mastered using a slingshot, joins them in Syrup Village, where the crew also gets a new ship, the Going Merry. Sanji, a womanizing waiter with martial arts skills, volunteers to become the Straw Hat Pirates' chef. But just when it seems like Luffy's pirate dreams are coming true, Nami betrays the group. She does it for a good reason, though. When Nami was a child, Arlong murdered her adoptive mother and conquered her hometown of Cocoa Village. Nami has since been robbing pirates for the purpose of getting enough money to buy the village back from Arlong, a plan that is doomed to failure. Thankfully, the Straw Hats arrive to save the day, and Luffy agrees to help her defeat Arlong. Meanwhile, Koby and Helmeppo, Marines who crossed paths with Luffy in the first episode, are pursuing the Straw Hats while working under Vice Admiral Garp, who turns out to be Luffy's grandfather. In the season finale, Worst in the East, the Straw Hat Pirates do battle with the Arlong Pirates on behalf of the people of Cocoa Village. Luffy faces off against Arlong himself. Fighting inside Arlong Park's central building, the Fishman is invulnerable to the Rubber Boy's attacks, but Luffy realizes that he doesn't need to hurt Arlong directly. He just needs to destroy the building so it crashes down on top of him. The plan works, with Arlong defeated and Luffy the victor. Just as the Straw Hats are celebrating their victory with the villagers, the Marines come in to arrest them. Koby and Helmeppo refuse Garp's orders, but Garp goes ahead to challenge his grandson to a fight. This is ultimately meant as a test of Luffy's resolve, and Garp lets him go when it's clear nothing can change his mind. Garp later reveals he respects how Koby and Helmeppo stuck to their personal codes of justice and offers to train them. One Marine, Captain Nezumi, is upset that Garp doesn't actually want to arrest the Straw Hats and puts Luffy on a wanted poster with a high bounty. Koby shows Luffy the poster, knowing he'll be overjoyed at achieving such infamy as a pirate. Luffy brings several orange trees from Cocoa Village aboard the Going Merry to remind Nami of home, while Nami and the other Straw Hats gift Luffy a mainsail with the group's new insignia. And with that, the Straw Hats sail off towards the Grand Line. Altogether, Season 1 of Netflix's One Piece compresses about 11 volumes of the manga, or 45 half-hour episodes of the anime, into 8-hour-long episodes. And that's not even counting the Garp subplot, which mostly reflects content from way later in the source material. That results in a pretty packed series, and this is taken to its greatest extreme in the series finale. This one live-action episode covers around 15 chapters of the manga, or 8 episodes of the anime, plus an original Garp versus Luffy fight. That the show is able to fit this much content into a single episode is in large part due to a very different approach to handling the fights. While making sure to accurately adapt the characters' fighting techniques, what was originally a series of individual standoffs between different Straw Hats and Fishmen gets changed into a fast-paced, cross-cutting battle that's over in 20 minutes. It's certainly a different feel for action than other versions of One Piece, gaining speed but losing some of the drama. While some fans might not be happy at the rapid-fire pace, at the very least, One Piece can't face the hardly anything happens in an individual episode criticism that often applies to binge-ready streaming shows. Arlong is the type of villain where half of the time when he speaks, you think he's basically in the right, if a little misguided, and the other half of the time you think he's the most loathsome person ever. In the world of One Piece, fishmen have been enslaved and oppressed by humans, and Arlong seeks to liberate them by enslaving and oppressing humans in turn. His motivation is rooted in an understandable rage at injustice, but his actions in response are so evil that he loses sympathy.
I'm just playing by human rules.
With these maps, I will create a world where the fisherman reigns supreme.
In the manga and anime versions of the Arlong Park arc, Arlong is even less sympathetic. The history of bigotry against the fishmen isn't revealed in detail until much later in the series, so initially Arlong comes across as purely an anti-human bigot. Revealing his backstory earlier creates a very different impression of the character, and makes him a more compelling villain to center the first season around. The most obvious change from the manga and anime so far in the live-action One Piece is that Garp is introduced way earlier. Luffy's marine grandfather is initially revealed via a run of cover stories about Koby and Helmeppo, which was adapted into episodes 68 and 69 of the anime. Garp doesn't reunite with Luffy or play a role in the main storyline until the end of the Water 7 saga, and this reunion happens under very different circumstances than in the live-action show. The decision to bring Garp in earlier seems to be made with an intention of building more drama from the Straw Hats' interactions with the Marines. The conflict is certainly more personal, having family on opposite sides of the law. Garp also becomes the season's final boss of sorts, fighting Luffy in a battle that can serve as a climax for the whole season, in contrast to the rest of the show's relatively self-contained 2-episode arcs. In contrast to the manga and anime, where characters can disappear for long stretches before making their big reappearances, Netflix's One Piece seems to want to have as many of its supporting characters appear as often as possible. Arlong is introduced as early as episode 3 in an attempt to build him up as a villain without the luxury of being able to give him a 15-episode arc like the anime could. Koby and Helmeppo are presences throughout the season, partially as a means to emphasize the theme of there being good people on both sides of the law.
Be a good Marine.
Buggy the Clown gets an expanded role in the live-action adaptation that greatly differs from his original role in the manga and anime. Here, Buggy teams up with Arlong and uses his Chop fruit abilities to track down the Straw Hats. The Straw Hats then use Buggy in the same fashion to track down Nami after she leaves. In the season finale, Buggy abandons the battle with the fishmen after reattaching all his body parts together. He swears to kill Luffy after seeing his bounty poster, before fellow villain Alvida says she wants to do it herself. In the pre-credit scene, a man shown from behind sits at a desk holding 2 cigars. With one of these cigars, he burns Luffy's wanted poster. No name is listed in the credits since the character's only shown from behind. It's likely the role has yet to be officially cast. But any One Piece fan can tell you this character is Smoker. Smoker is a Marine who serves as both a relentless enemy and occasionally an unlikely ally to Luffy. He is first introduced in the Logtown arc, though it remains unclear exactly what the Netflix adaptation plans to do with that arc, given it is technically part of the East Blue saga already adapted in Season 1. Even if the timing of his introduction is changed, however, he's sure to play a major role in future seasons should the show get renewed. Due to the Writers Guild of America and Screen Actors Guild strikes in summer 2023, Season 1 of the live-action One Piece has not had a traditional press cycle in terms of cast and writing crew discussing every detail of the show in interviews. However, Netflix sent out a packet of press notes featuring pre-strike interviews where some creatives talked vaguely about the ending. Original manga author Eiichiro Oda alluded to the season's endpoint by saying, "The story will span 8 episodes and take us up through you-know-where." Based on what parts of the manga were announced to be adapted, fans would know that you-know-where refers to the Grand Line. Nami actress Emily Rudd didn't talk about the season finale, but when asked about the scene that made her a One Piece fan, she did discuss the scene when her character finally asks Luffy for help. She wants to do everything herself, and that moment is the first time in years, maybe ever, that she has ever asked anyone for help. She continued, "That's when you realize they're a crew, that they're family, and that speaks to the heart of the show. It's all about love and family, supporting each other and following your dreams. In her darkest moment, you have someone there saying, 'I got you.'"
Nami isn't some tool to be used. She's a person with wants and dreams of her own.
Whether Netflix's One Piece will be renewed for a second season remains uncertain. Infamously, the last live-action anime adaptation from Netflix and Tomorrow Studios' Cowboy Bebop was canceled after just 1 season, despite debuting with supposedly high viewership numbers. Whereas Cowboy Bebop creator Shinichiro Watanabe was completely hands-off and ultimately disappointed with the adaptation, the live-action One Piece has had the full support of and significant involvement from Eiichiro Oda. However, some fans still feel that the show has significant artistic and pacing problems. There's no guarantee the live-action version will be a hit. Should there be a second season, there's plenty of new characters to see, including the members of the villainous Baroque Works syndicate, including future Straw Hat Nico Robin, and the reindeer doctor Chopper. Handling Chopper in live action might be the biggest challenge the adaptation faces yet. Here's hoping we get to see them give it a shot.